Hi everybody, Double B Billy Boudreaux, aka Wrestle Gamer. Now I must warn you before we get in this video, go any further in this video, that this is indeed a spoiler. Now we're not telling you how to get to the parts in the game on how to complete it, but yours truly just finished this game with the help of Ashley, who's here on Skype, and the story is just, in each part of these worlds, is just so weird that, you know, we're going to put it here on YouTube and see if we can get your guys' interpretation of this story. So again, this is a spoiler. If you haven't played Braid yet and you do not want to know ahead of time the ending, do not watch this video. So, Ashley, if you're with me, let's go ahead. We're going to get started here on this one. Technically, this is the first world, but if you notice at the top, everybody, it says 2. Time and forgiveness. The first part of the story says, Tim is off on a search to rescue the princess. She has been snatched by a horrible, evil monster. This has happened because Tim has made a mistake. Not just
one. He made many mistakes during the time they spent together all those years ago. Memories of their relationship have become muddled, replaced wholesale. But one thing's clear. The princess turning sharply away, her braid lashing at him with contempt.
He knows she tried to be forgiving, but who can just shrug away a guilty lie, a stab in the back? Such a mistake will change a relationship irreversibly, even if we have learned from the mistake and would never repeat it. The princess's eyes grew narrower. She became more distant.
Our world, with its rules of causality, has trained us to be miserly with forgiveness. By forgiving them too readily, we can be badly hurt. But if we've learned from a mistake and become better for it, shouldn't we be rewarded for the learning rather than punished for the mistake?
What if our world worked differently? Suppose we could tell her, I didn't mean what I just said. And she would say, it's okay, I understand. And she would not turn away, and life would really proceed as though we had never said that thing. We could remove the damage, but still be wiser for the experience.
Tim and the princess lounged in the castle garden, laughing together, giving names to the colourful birds. Their mistakes are hidden from each other, tucked away between the folds of time. Safe.
It's already getting like weird, so now we're going to go into the next level, World 3. Which is technically the second world we start out with. It's weird, guys, I know. But this one is called Time and Mystery. First part says, all those years ago, Tim had left the princess behind. He had kissed her on the neck, picked up his travel bag, and walked out the door. He regrets this, to a degree. Now he's journeying to find her again, to show he knows how sad it was, but also to tell her how it was good.
For a long time, he thought they'd been cultivating the perfect relationship. He'd been fiercely protective, reversing all his mistakes so they would not touch her. Likewise, keeping a tight rein on her own mistakes. She always pleased him. But
to be fully couched within the comfort of a friend is a mode of existence with severe implications. To please you perfectly, she must understand you perfectly. Thus, she cannot defy her expectations or escape her reach. Her benevolence has circumscribed you, and your life's achievements will not reach beyond the map she has drawn.
Tim needed to be non-manipulable. He needed a hope of transcendence. He needed sometimes to be immune to the princess's caring touch.
Off in the distance, Tim saw a castle where the flags flutter even when the wind has expired, and the bread in the kitchen is always warm. A little bit of magic. Wow. Again, guys, just hold up.
This is like existentially deep.
As we go into the next level, which is essentially level 3, but it's entitled World 4. It's
Chapter
called
4.
Time and Place. Visiting his parents' home for a holiday meal, Tim felt as though he had regressed to those long ago years when he lived under their roof, oppressed by their insistence on upholding strange values which to him were meaningless. Back then, bickering would erupt over drops of gravy spilt onto the tablecloth.
Escaping, Tim walked in the cool air towards the university he'd attended after moving out of his parents' home. As he distanced himself from that troubling house, he felt the embarrassment of childhood fading into the past. But now he stepped into all the insecurities he'd felt at the university, all the panic of walking a social tightrope.
Tim only felt relieved after the whole visit was over, sitting back home in the present, steeped in contrast. He saw how he improved so much from those old days. This improvement, day by day, takes him ever closer to finding the princess. If she exists, she must. She will transform him and everyone.
He felt on his trip that every place stirs up an emotion, and every emotion evokes a memory, a time and location. So couldn't he find the princess now, tonight, just by wandering from place to place and noticing how he feels? A trail of feelings of awe and inspiration should lead him to that castle in the future. Her arms enclosing him, her scent fills him with excitement, creates a moment so strong he can remember it in the past.
Immediately, Tim walked out his door the next morning toward whatever the new day held. He felt something like optimism. Wow, again, it's just weirdo. As we go to the next level, chapter 5.
Time and decision, yeah.
There's only 2 stories here. She never understood the impulses that drove him, never quite felt the intensity that, over time, chiseled lines into his face. She was never quite close enough to him, but he held her as though she were, whispered into her ear words that only a soulmate should receive.
Over the remnants of dinner, they both knew the time had come. He would have said, "I have to go find the princess," but he didn't need to. Giving a final kiss, hoisting a travel bag to his shoulder, he walked out the door. For all the nights that followed, she still loved him as though he stayed, to comfort her and protect her. Princess be damned.
Well, again, guys, this is just weird. As we go to chapter 6. Hesitance. Perhaps in a perfect world, the ring would be a symbol of happiness. It's a sign of ceaseless devotion. Even if he will never find the princess, he will always be trying. He will still wear the ring.
But the thing makes its presence known. It shines out to others like a beacon of warning. It makes people slow to approach. Suspicion, distrust. Interactions torpedoed before Tim could open his mouth.
In time, he learns to deal with others carefully. He matches their hesitant pace, tracing a soft path through their defenses. But this exhausts him, and it only works to a limited degree. It doesn't get him what he needs.
Tim begins to hide the ring in his pocket, but he can hardly bear it. Too long tucked away, that part of him might suffocate.
And now, guys, this is where we're going to get really strange here. Because the last, well, we're getting there, but now we're going up here to chapter 1. Yes, you heard me. Chapter 1.
Yeah, the final level is chapter 1.
At a cafe in a bright plaza, most customers sit back, feeling the warmth of the sun, enjoying their cold drinks. But not Tim. He barely notices the sun, doesn't really taste his coffee. For him, this corner affords a good view of the city, and in the teeterings of the passers-by, in the arc of a shop girl's hand as she displays tea to an interested gentleman. Tim hopes to see clues.
That night at the cinema, fictitious adventures lunge implausibly across the screen. The audience here is mixed. Some are patrons of the cafe, now sitting excitedly in the plush chairs, eager for another new flavour, a distraction from the boredom of their easy lives. Other scenes hold fishermen and farm workers, hoping to forget their toils and rest their hands.
Tim is here too, but he is scrutinizing the gloss on the lips on the screen, measuring the angle of the plume of a distant helicopter crash. He thinks he discerns a message. When the cinema closes and most of the audience strolls down the plaza to the south, Tim goes north.
People like Tim seem to live oppositely from the other residents of the city. Tide and riptide, flowing against each other.
Tim wants, like nothing else, to find the princess, to know her at last. For Tim, this would be momentous, sparking an intense light that embraces the world, a light that reveals the secrets long kept from us, that illuminates or materializes a final palace where we can exist in peace.
But how would this be perceived by the other residents of the city in the world that flows contrary-wise? The light would be intense and warm at the beginning, but then flicker down to nothing, taking the gas all with it. It would be like burning down the place we've always called home, where we played so innocently as children, destroying all hope of safety forever.
Now, this is where it gets weird, guys. After you complete this last level, we're not going to tell you exactly what happens. But what we're going to do is we're going to take you all the way over here to the epilogue of Braid. Now, you can only reach this after you completed the game. So we're going all the way back here to the beginning, and we're going to go to the epilogue right here. And this really gets funky, guys. Now, normally the green glowing storybooks tell us nothing. But what we're going to do here... Alright, hold on. Grab the key. Alright, as the epilogue starts, it says, the boy crawled for the girl to follow him, and he took her hand. He would protect her. They would make their way through this oppressive castle, fighting off the creatures made of smoke and doubt, escaping to a life of freedom. The boy wanted to protect the girl. He held her hand, or put his arm around her shoulders in a walking embrace, to help her feel supported and close to him amid the impersonal throngs of Manhattan. They turned and made their way toward the Canal Street subway station, and he picked a path through the jostling crowd.
Have you got the next bit?
Yes.
He worked his ruler.
No, wait, his arm weighed upon her shoulders, felt constrictive around her neck. You're burdening me with your ridiculous need, she said. Or, she said, you're going the wrong way and you're pulling me with you. And another time, another place, she said, stop yanking on my arm. You're hurting me. Alright, we have to go down here to get that part. Alright, now go ahead, Ash.
He worked his ruler and his compass. He inferred, he deduced, he scrutinized the fall of an apple, the twisting of metal orbs hanging from a thread. He was searching for the princess, and he would not stop until he found her, for he was hungry. He cut rats into pieces to examine their brains, implanted tungsten posts into the skulls of water-starved monkeys.
Let me get to the next part here. That's part of that story. Give me a second. I have to... Alright. Ghostly, she stood in front of him and looked into his eyes. I am here, she said. I am here. I want to touch you. She pleaded. Look at me. But he would not see her. He only knew how to look at the outside of things. Where's the next one, Ash?
Is it back to he scrutinized the fall of an apple? He scrutinized the fall of an apple, the twisting of metal orbs hanging from a thread. Through these clues he'd find the princess, see her face. After an especially fervent night of tinkering, he kneeled behind a bunker in the desert. He held a piece of welder's glass up to his eye and waited. On that moment hung eternity. Time stood still. Space contracted to a pinpoint. It was as though the earth had opened and the sky split. One felt as though he'd been privileged to witness the birth of the world. Someone near him said, it worked. Someone else said, they're all sons of bitches.
The candy store. Everything you wanted was on the opposite side of that pane of glass. The store was decorated in bright colors, and the scents wafting out drove him crazy. He tried to rush for the door, or just get closer to the glass, but he couldn't. She held him back with great strength. Why would she hold him back? How might he break her free? How might he break free of her grasp? He considered violence.
He cannot say he's understood all of this. Possibly he's more confused now than ever. But all these moments he's contemplated. Something has occurred. The moments feel substantial in his mind, like stones. Kneeling, reaching down towards the closest one, running his hand across it. He finds it smooth, slightly cold.
He tests the stone's weight. He finds he can lift it, and the others too. He can fit them together to create a foundation, an embankment, a castle.
To build a castle of appropriate size, he'll need a great many stones. But what he's got now feels like an acceptable start.
And that's been the story of Braid, guys. And I tell you, it's been open to so many different forms of interpretation. I really don't know how I would interpret it, to be honest with you, because you just sit there and go, what in the world is going on? Ashley, how would you interpret this?
It seems to be deep, very deep, but I did a little research because that bit with the quotes is a little bit odd. Those quotes never all sons of bitches. So, using a little bit of assistance from good old Wikipedia, turns out that quote has come from somebody called that quote of the sons of bitches comes from a person known as Kenneth Bainbridge, who was one of the directors of this thing called the Manhattan Project, which happened. And what it is, this person used the description, that bit. Can you go back, Billy, to the bit where it says now we're sons of bitches? Because that's the bit there that kind of is the deep. It's supposed to, according to this, relate to some kind of nuclear bomb thing and the ongoing quest at the time back in the First World War for the bomb. What's that quote before the line one person said?
Someone near him said it worked. Someone else said...
Yeah, before the line from someone said it worked. What was the paragraph there?
On that moment hung eternity. Time stood still. Space contracted to a pinpoint. It was as though the earth had opened and the sky split. One felt as though he had been privileged to witness the birth of the world.
Now those words were wrote by a journalist by the name of William Lawrence. And that was basically, that's how he described when he saw this nuclear bomb go off in the desert. Well, no, it wouldn't have been if it was the Manhattan. No, it was the Manhattan Project. It wasn't actually Manhattan, but it was. I think it was somewhere in the desert in like Nevada and all that where it took place. I'm not sure. I probably need to do more research on it, but I've already done too much, and my head's already hurting. But then, one of the other directors, by the name of J. Robert Oppenheimer, immediately said it worked. Pleased to see what they created. But then Bainbridge said, now we're all sons of bitches, realising that, we've created this beautiful thing and it's going to be used for such terrible things like destruction. So I guess it's a kind of metaphor for the quest for nuclear power, and, basically the nuclear particles are volatile, as if they're trying to say you shouldn't be, creating these kind of things. It's very belief heavy, science heavy in that sense. But if you look at it in the basic, oh no, that would be giving away the plot.
No, we don't want to do that.
Very basic thing. It's just a person's quest for a princess. The question is, what does the main character Tim and the princess represent?
I think the only way for you guys to find that out is you have to play the game Braid.
You can get it on PC, or you can download it for the PSN and the Xbox Live Arcade for about $15.
So, after hearing this story, guys, we want to hear from you out there watching the video. How do you interpret the story of Braid from everything we've read to you tonight?
Or if you've played it, give your thoughts on it, but, you know, give a warning that you might be giving spoilers if you're doing anything related to the actual gameplay story kind of thing.
So, again, with that being said, your thoughts on this story on Braid, and if you played it yourself, what was your interpretation of the story of Braid, and how did you perceive this story? So leave your comments in the comment section below. Until then, I'm Double B, aka WrestleGamer, joined by Ashley here on Skype. Thank you very much for watching the video.